Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We're going to be working on a reel today that is, typical of the 1980s and 90s. This is the Daiwa AG, that's Apollo Graphite 2600X. It's a nice, what I'll call entry-level reel for the time. This one's got some issues to it, and as I was doing it, the first thought was that there's a gear noise. The second one, we've got a very loose rotor here. You can see how the rotor is just rocking. So that might be contributing to the noise that this reel is making. And we'll show you how to service that, how to fix that rotor issue, show you what the reel is like, and well, how to keep it maintained. It is in nice condition. This one was brought in by David. Said his mom was fishing with it and had it on a little telescoping rod. And could I do my best to see if we can fix the issues associated with this one? And we'll do our best to try that out. We're going to start by removing the exterior pieces and parts. We just took off the handle by removing the handle screw, which is on the other side. When I take my pieces and parts off, I like to put them into a parts tray. That's how I keep my pieces and parts organized. I would recommend that you have a system for doing that. There's lots of them out there. Mine is a parts tray with some corners where I put sub-assemblies, but there's lots of different ways to do it. But think about what you're going to do before you start taking your pieces and parts off. I'm going to take the spool and adjuster cap off. That's big enough. We don't need to put that into a parts tray. And then underneath that we have a little click ratchet and a shim washer here. Those can be removed as well. And one of the issues with this rotor is going to be that there is no rotor nut up here. You can see we have a rock in that. And we'll show you underneath what's going on there. And we'll see if we can add a little bit more tension back to what's called a U-clip that's holding that one in. As I mentioned, this would be in the entry-level reel set that Daiwa was making at the time. And the reel overall is a nice reel. It's sturdy. This is it says 2600, but by today's standards, it's about a 50 size reel. It would be appropriate for saltwater, for surf casting, for big fish, catfish, and the like. This is not a 2000 size freshwater reel by any stretch. Well, you'll see when I take these off that I put my screws on my desk. I want to make sure that all of them are the same size. From time to time you're going to be working on a reel that something's different. One's shorter, one's longer, one has a different thread. In all of those situations you want to identify which one goes where if they are different. In this case they're all the same. Well, this one has an anti-reverse override, so I'm going to flip that to the off position for the service, just in case there's something that might get tangled up as you remove the pieces and parts. If you put it in the off position, you're disconnecting the anti-reverse feature, and if it's on a click ratchet, it's something that doesn't interfere with the removal. The 4 screws are out. We should be able to lift this case off. My guess is this case has been on there for quite some time, but there you go, it's off. And you can see that it's using a kind of a pivot cross-wind arm. It's got a little pin that holds that to your axle shaft. Have an offset in terms of the main gear, so that offset is going to drive that axle shaft up and down as it rotates. And we'll just show you that here. See how you're on the top now, so you're on the top of the axle shaft. And as you spin it and go to the lower reach, you'll notice the whole assembly is moving down, as is the axle shaft. To remove that piece, you want to pull the pin. Make sure you store that in a safe place. Then you can pull your axle shaft up and out. And this has got a lot of old greases and oils on it. Then we can remove the crosswind arm, the main gear. And you can see the beginnings of the work for that anti-reverse override. Take a picture here, particularly if you're not too familiar with the reel. Notice that you have a V-shaped spring right here, that brass colored type of a look. If it winds up on your table, notice that's where it came from. You do not need to remove the override shaft or spring unless you're working on it. One of the issues with the reel is that it's completely dried out. All of the old greases and oils have evaporated and dried out. And this is the issue causing the rock in the rotor. There is a U-clip that holds this on. It should have some spring or tension to it. This one's flattened out, and that's why it has been rocking so much. And with that removed, we can remove the rotor assembly. And this is what I was talking about before. This is your anti-reverse ratchet here. And just that simple act of pulling this up, well, this whole thing is shaking. Wow. So it may not just be the clip. And there's no way to really tighten that up. Okay, well, I'll have to kind of live with this, I think. But at any rate, if you left that engaged pulling up, there's a possibility that you could have done something with the anti-reverse dog here. Again, you don't need to service this or remove it if it's working. We know it's working. We tested it. I'm just going to flood that with a little WD-40 as a penetrating oil to loosen it up. Work it back and forth just to make sure that it is operating. This is the on position, and what will happen is as it hits those bumps on the click ratchet, it will come in and out, and it'll lock in on one of these grooves here as it is spinning. Okay, well, that's all you have to do there other than put it in the back in the off position again. Make sure that your assembly is clean. Put a little bit of penetrating oil on the junctures for the bail and the like. We're just going to work that back and forth a couple of times. This one flips nice and easy. Again, you do not need to pull the spring assembly and the like if it's working fine. Just a little bit of oil in there will do the trick. If you've dropped it in the sand, if you've dumped the reel in the water, if it's got mud on it, fell off the rod holder, whatever, yeah, go ahead and take it apart, clean it out. But you'll notice as you're testing for what you need to do, whether that bail has got an issue. And so far, the only issue identified in this case is the loose rotor shaft here. This is the clip that's going to hold that down, and typically this clip should have a little bit of a bend in it, and I'm thinking with torque over time that bend may have just worked its way out a little bit. Easy enough to fix. Just take a little pliers on one side, kind of figure out where your bend is. Hold the other piece with the pliers. You can do this on a vise as well. And just the slightest little bend. Not all, you don't want a lot. Just enough that it's going to put some torsion in there as it goes through that slot. That should be enough. Probably too much. Let's take our bail assembly then, put that in. Find the slot underneath now. Again, we've rebent this, so let's put it in. And there should be a little bit more tension on here now, and there is. That's all good. And you need to make sure that it gets flat with the upper case here. That's because the side case is going to hold that on. Okay, we're in good condition with that. Next up, we can take our main gear. Now, if there's a lot of dirt and debris and the like in here, take the time to clean the back of the main gear. Again, I use penetrating oil to loosen up any dried greases. It's sort of almost like using dish detergent, if you will. It's a solvent. It's going to help break it up. And then I use a brush, either a bristle brush or a hard brush like this. This is a brass brush. Kind of come through, and you can see it's knocking out the dirt and debris. So you want to make sure that that all comes out. before you apply new grease. On your main gears, a lot of times you're going to find a back gear here. That's when you have a oscillation system gear. In this case, we mentioned that there's an offset or an eccentric on the front end of this gear. And on the top side with that eccentric, that's what's causing your axle shaft to go up and down when it transfers the movement of the main gear through that crosswind arm to the axle shaft. Okay, good amount of grease there. This case has a bushing in the back. It's a plastic bushing. We can go ahead and put that in. And where you put the main gear doesn't really matter much in terms of aligning it for a merge with that crosswind arm, because you can spin it. Make sure that your axle shaft is clean before you put that back in. There's a lot of dried grease on this one. I'll take care of that. Light greasing on this. Put any more than a light grease, it's only going to get pulled off there. Bring this down. Set it so that you can see the hole for the pin in your axle shaft. And then we can bring that assembly in. Make sure that's all cleaned up with the old greases. And generally, before I put that crosswind arm on, a little bit of grease right in that track where it's going to rotate will be helpful. I'm going to pull that back up a little bit. Put the arm of the piece on. And notice that there is a ridge in the back of the case here, right here. That's where that pin is going to ride to keep this kind of anchored. Let's go to our parts tray and get the pin. We'll bring down the axle shaft with the hole in it. Find that, the two. Line them up. Got a couple things going on here, but line it up. It's got to go back through the back of the carrier now. There we go. And then you'll feel it come down. That stud should ride proud because we have the other side of the case here that holds that. And again, another plastic bushing. So there are no bearings in this reel. Your up top has got a case and a pinion gear. Okay, before you attach your case screws, give it a turn, make sure it's turning. Again, we took the 4 screws, they're all the same. Oops, just looking in my case, that little parts tray, I missed the little travel washer here. It's that shim washer that goes on the stud here that holds that arm in place. Don't miss that. Okay. That's one of the advantages of having the parts tray or any other parts management approach. If you think you're done and you look in your case or in your parts tray or the way you've laid out your pieces and parts, and you see something there that at the point where you're rebuilding the reel should have been on the reel already, stop. Go back and do it again. Reinstall. Well, we just caught that one just in the nick of time. We weren't down to putting the screws back on or not. But I would say we've probably done what we can to rehabilitate this reel. I think there's still movement in there's still going to be movement in that rotor because we were feeling the movement of the shaft, and that shaft is not the issue with that tie-down clip. But we did tighten down that clip, so we'll see if it took any of the play out of that rotor as we move forward. Okay. Bring this together. Interesting. Today, they would make these black-headed screws to match the case. In days gone by, they were happy enough just to put stainless screws in there so that they didn't rust. So this is a little bit of an interesting reel, and it has no ball bearings. It's an entry-level reel. You probably bought it on a combination rod and reel. at the lower end of the price range. That's a spool shim adjuster there. I think David fishes with his right hand, so we're going to move that over. Bring this side in line, tighten that up. Take a look at that spool, see what's going on there for me. Drag situation, we'll give it a test. I'm thinking because of the nature of this reel that we probably have Teflon washers in here. When they design the reels, they kind of design them around what's the actual customer or angler experience going to be. One of those experiences is, are they going to take the reel to be serviced, or are they going to service the reel themselves? And sometimes when the answer to that is we don't expect that to happen, then they'll use different ways to promote the longevity of the reel. And in this case, it may be that they've used the Teflon washers. Let's see what's in here. Well, I think they voted for Teflon washers. There you go. Well, Teflon is an oil-based product. By its nature, it doesn't need to be oiled. It's non-permeable, so it's not going to absorb any oil that you put in there. So we'll retract. This should be a traditional 6-washer set. The first one and last one are keyed washers. They have a rectangular center. The middle one is an eared washer. It has an open center and 2 studs. These face down, and they go in the slots on the side case of the reel, just like that. Make sure that your Teflon washers are clean and your metals are clean before you install them again. That's the last of the dry washers. This is your clip. And there's a ridge that clip rides in. Just make sure that it sits in that when you go to reinstall. Alright, let's put this on and we'll see what happened. I don't think we're going to find that the wobble went away. It should run a lot smoother because there was no grease or oil in the reel. There were no burrings that had to be addressed. It's a bushing reel. So we'll see how we did. Again, it's a nice 50 size reel, appropriate for fishing in the surf or from a boat. How did we do? You know what? It quieted it down a lot. Of course it did. It had grease, but we weren't able to take care of that rock, and we showed you the cause for that rock. It's that the reel itself is becoming detached on the rotor. We put the anti-reverse dog on. We just want to make sure that works. We've oiled the bail. Let's make sure that clicks. It does. This one's ready to go back on a pole. Yeah, it's a little noisy, and the reason for that noise is, well, as it's rocking this way, that pinion gear below is not getting a firm mesh with your main gear. It's kind of grabbing it, but it's not 100% like it was when it was brand new before some of that started to loosen up. Well, that's it. That's how to take apart and service your Daiwa AG Apollo Graphite 2600X fishing reel, and well, how to keep it fishing. I hope you've enjoyed that. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I want to thank you for watching. I want to wish everybody a great day. We're just going to put this on before we return this to David. He has this on a telescoping rod, one of those early travel rods. And you can tell it's early because, well, you've got metal guides on this one. All right. Okay, we're all done here. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.